Now, on for our seminar, How Data Changes the Game. So we're going to have a great panel group here. So first, let me just introduce briefly our panelists, and then I'm going to pass it over. So first, Brian Barron, he's the Vice President of Studio Data Insights at Electronic Arts, otherwise known as EA. He's been at EA for 2 years, initially leading the Studio Design and Insights, Sports, and Racing team. Brian now leads the global SDI team, which includes analytics, BI, data science, and quality analytics for game development. After graduating with an undergraduate degree in mathematics, dear to my heart, and a graduate degree in mechanical engineering. So the mathematics degree was at Morehouse, mechanical engineering degree was at Georgia Tech. Brian started his career in consulting at Accenture. After getting his MBA, Brian began his journey in analytics at Toyota Motor Sales in Southern California, and he helped grow the global digital analytics function at Nike before landing in EA in 2020. So great to have you here back with us virtually in the Atlanta University Center. Yvonne Phillips is a computer science professor at Morehouse College, and she comes with a wealthy background. She spent 13 years at LexisNexis Risk Solutions, developing her work in predictive modeling and analytics. She managed the DMV Motor Vehicle Records Analytics team, providing guidance to clients regarding design, development, and implementation of analytic products and services evaluating driver histories across 50 states. Now, Yvonne, please don't evaluate my driving, but okay, moving right along. She holds a master's in decision science from Georgia State University, the J. Mac Robinson College of Business, and a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from Spelman College, class of 96. She holds the EMC2 Data Science Associate and SAS Business Analyst certifications. And she shares her knowledge as a professor at Morehouse College, teaching courses specific to data science. She's been instrumental in launching and developing the Data in the African Diaspora course, and also teaches workshops for students and faculty and staff on data science. So really great to have her here. One more tidbit, Yvonne's mother fostered her love for fashion, while her father raised her into the huge sports fan she is today. So really looking forward to hearing her insights on the sports analytics. Finally, Eric Thomas, he's the co-founder of the Pharos Conclave, otherwise known as Coach E. Coach E is a native of Atlanta, Georgia, and he's a proud graduate of Benjamin E. Mays High School Math and Science Academy here in Atlanta. Coach E went on to receive a bachelor's degree in construction science management from Tuskegee University. Upon graduation, he spent a decade in the construction industry in project engineering and management. So he came into the education career initially as a college and career readiness coach, and then went into the classroom to teach middle and high school math, both in science and history. So he's a proud member of Omega Phi Psi Fraternity, Inc. And in 2016, he co-founded Pharos Conclave and serves as executive director of its nonprofit, PCX Go, Inc. So he became Georgia's governor of esports with the Armature Athletic Union. And in 2021, he was installed as a professor of practice of esports at Morris Brown College, where he helped establish and launch the Ronald Floyd Thomas Center for Esports and Innovation. So we're really excited to have 3 amazing panelists join us today, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. First, we'll hear from Brian. Brian, would you like to take it away?
Sure, yeah. Nice to see everyone. It's a pleasure to get to be part of this amazing panel. As Dr. Washington pointed out, I'm a former student at Morehouse College. I graduated in long time ago. It's been a long time. Old happens fast when you're having fun, but I came from the AUC back in the late 90s and went, as Dr. Washington pointed out, to Georgia Tech, got my graduate degree there, and ended up starting my career out in the West Coast at Toyota. I actually started in consulting right after school, but started at Toyota after attending business school at UCLA. And I got into data and developed my passion for data at a really young age. And graduate and undergraduate school, math and mechanical engineering. And it wasn't until the early 2000s when I graduated from business school, UCLA, and started at Toyota that they started this group called the Business Intelligence Competency Center. And what you need to understand is that analytics is a fairly new competency for people my age. There weren't data scientists, and analyst was a term that was usually reserved for people maybe on Wall Street or in financial planning and analytics roles and corporate functions. And so this function of kind of data scientists and leveraging data to make business decisions didn't start really developing and evolving until we hit this era of what people call big data, where you actually had data available, readily available to make big decisions. So I was in this rotational program at Toyota, and I think you do like 3 to 4 rotations before you opt out and into a more permanent role post business school. And in the Business Intelligence Competency Center seemed like a good place to marry my experience in mathematics and engineering, my corporate experience in consulting, with what I was really passionate about, which was a technical field where I can leverage what I learned around data. And so marrying the two and putting me in a position to work with stakeholders to tell stories about how data can optimize the decisions that we make for business was a really fantastic opportunity for me. And oddly enough, I remember early on in that role, like we kind of went on a roadshow to talk to leaders at Toyota about leveraging data and the importance of data in making decisions. And we were challenged by senior leaders who were saying, I don't need data because I understand people, I understand relationships. And so just to give you a sense for how much the industry has evolved in the past couple of decades, people used to not see the value of data. You used to have to sell people on the concept of leveraging data points to understand their customers in the industry. So it's been an interesting journey, and that evolved for me into a role at Nike, which was a phenomenal experience. My office used to be on the 3rd floor of the Jordan building. Almost got in trouble once for stalking Michael Jordan. He was on the 4th floor. I was on the 3rd. He was my idol growing up. So I wasn't embarrassed to follow him around, which, like I said, almost got me into trouble. But my office was right across from the gym on the 3rd floor of the Michael Jordan building. So I'd see all of the Nike athletes come in and train. And so it was a phenomenal experience. If anyone gets a chance to work on the swoosh, it's such a great place to work. But I helped build their global data and analytics function. I started out in a small role on the North America geography focused on Nike.com. And that role evolved and grew until I had teams in Tokyo, Shanghai, Amsterdam, Brazil, Korea, North America, all throughout North America. And so it was a really rewarding role. And that was at some of you may have heard of like the Nike app or the sneakers app, where you can get access to really good product. I was there when that product was evolving. And when we talk about the need for and the use for data, data is what kind of drove deep and really personal experiences in the app. Prior to that, personalized experiences didn't exist in any capacity anywhere in Nike. You didn't really do it for .com. It wasn't like Amazon where you land on your landing page and you have access to personalized curated content that's focused on experiences and or past shopping trends for you as a customer. And the app allowed us to do that. And a lot of the work that was done on my data and analytics teams enabled that transition into leveraging big data to create AI ML tools that enabled a personalized experience. And so things like recommendation engines and that curated landing page experience is something that was really new almost 10 years ago when I started at Nike. So that was a phenomenal journey. It really built my passion for data and analytics and really grew my responsibilities in leading large data and analytics teams. And as Dr. Washington pointed out, I'm now at Electronic Arts. And so initially leading the sports analytics teams, which was amazing for me because I grew up on Madden, like in the 90s. That was the first video game that I was really passionate about. Love football video games. I was a basketball player, but loved football video games. And so to get to work on Madden decades later was it was incredible. So Madden and FIFA were my the primary games that my analytics teams were focused on. That was a team of about maybe 30 plus people. In my newest role, I've been in it for about a year and a half, coming on 2 years. It's 350-ish people focused on developing great games and providing, leveraging data to proactively identify bugs or anomalies in games to improve the game development process and efficiencies. It's focused on deploying analytics and AI ML tools to personalize the player experience, and is focused on delivering insights to our game teams to better understand how players engage with our products and franchises to optimize the experience and keep people coming back and wanting to engage with fun games in the EA family. So it's been a very rewarding experience. I think that want to debunk the theory that roles and data are sitting in the broom closet developing code for your stakeholders. I have a very rewarding career that involves constant socialization with C-suite leaders and discussions about strategy and how we evolve our content. Data leaders are business leaders. So we really drive the discussions for how to make amazing products. So I think I'll stop there. I've had lots of really interesting experience and data for the past 15 years, and happy to tell this group more about it if you have any questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Brian. Next up, we have Yvonne.
Good. Is it good afternoon? Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Always good to see everyone. I am Yvonne Phillips. I am a professor over at Morehouse. Not only do I teach in computer science, but I also teach over in kinesiology, sports studies. This is where you will find me doing what I absolutely love, and that's talking about sports and sports analytics. So, you can read my bio if you want to reach out and you want to talk more about my experiences over the last 20 years, because I happen to fall into data science. At that time, it was more decision science, business analytics. But I fell into my career about 20 years ago within financial services. So since then, I've worked in financial services, retail. I did some time in insurance. I did most of my time in insurance, but also in the government space. And now I spent 4 years or so in academia. And just like anyone in academia, I want to spend some minutes teaching you a few things. So again, spend some few minutes teaching you about like the where, the how, the why of sports analytics. So you will see, I do have a slide deck here, and we'll just go through it a little bit more. All right. Right, so sports analytics, right? Within my class, because again, I do teach sports analytics over in kinesiology. Within my class, it's about using data, advanced statistics, where we measure performance, right? And then it's to make these informed decisions. Again, we talk about football and basketball, some baseball there, and it's to gain a competitive sports advantage. So prior to class, I do have a prerequisite. And then if you register in my classes, once you get there, like the first day or so, I require you to watch Moneyball. So we start at Peter Brand, right? It's probably the most definitive movie with use of analytics. This is the obvious recommendation. This is the one movie that gets spoken about at every opportunity by sports analysts, and it represents a true revelation, or a revolution rather, in sports, and therefore it does deserve the reputation. There's a couple of other movies like Silly Little Game. It's ESPN's 30 for 30. And so they had a series of documentaries. And again, there was one called Silly Little Games. Another movie was The Numbers Game, and it's about 20 minutes long, and it's a documentary about football analytics. Next, please. So let's talk a little bit more about the why. Data and data analysis, you can click, yes. Data analysis, keep clicking. Data analysis, the use of statistics is not new to sports, right? Now we have the technology to collect more detailed information about the game. Detailed box scores, play-by-play data, player tracking. So our sports big data, it's also technology driven with these real-time automated data captured involved in many of our applications, right? We see this in the headlines every single day. All we have to do is just Google big data. We Google sports analytics, and some of these titles, they pop up. How sports analytics is changing the game, how to break into a career in sports analytics, the potential of big data for sports business, how is sports data analytics changing sports? Artificial intelligence or machine learning, to be more exact, it has integrated into many things over the past couple of years, right? And so we're able now to answer questions like, what actions should we take to increase game attendance? Or what sales channels, are most effective for us? How will this sporting landscape, affect our business? So I'll just highlight some of the applications here in sports analytics. The first being, go back one. Thank you. The first being computer vision, natural language processing. So there's many products, services out here in this sports world that are affecting the way that data is being delivered and then tracking the performance of the player. Computer vision and natural language processing, it automates then this conversation of unstructured data like our video, our audio, our images into structured data, then that a machine can now analyze to discover, patterns. So let's take Hawkeye Innovations, right? They provide some ball tracking technology that's used in professional tennis, soccer, cricket, baseball, used for better officiating. And then it also is like a broadcast enhancement. And then Sport UV, we see this now in all of our NBA stadiums. Golden State used Sport UV camera systems. And so it digitally measures the player speed and then just a host of other determinants here. And so the data comes from sensors that's placed in the ball and also on the player. So it analyzing the data then helps improve passing, shot efficiency. The Raptors also used Sport VU too, and they added a talent assessment where it produces like this player portrait. And that actually helped them win their championship season in 2018 and 19. Next, please. Visualization tools, again, our BI tools like Power BI. So the Miami Heat, they've used Power BI to transform their customer interactions and then their business operations. Again, using like Sport VU as an example of like this existing video system. The NBA then commissioned the technology, as I said, to be used in all games from 2014 there. Next. NASCAR. All right, so this is really, really cool. To increase the safety here, they need to know everything going on with their cars, right? But the high speed, it makes it hard to clearly see. So thousands of images labeled by humans to train these neural networks, then to identify the car's number and the manufacturer. There's also integrated telemetry data from thousands of sensors, and it generates millions of data points like every second to optimize these in-race strategies, like the number of stops, the tire changes, and then also the overtakes there. Next, please. So this idea that the sport of professional level like generates the data from both fans and players, right? And it's to manage and then analyze the data that we need these powerful real-time cloud-based technologies. You can hit enter, please, and you can continue. Cameras, smartwatches, smart scales, all other sorts of these sensor-powered devices. They collect physical data from our players and the users. Any pro league match played today, as I said, is monitored by cameras from multiple angles, that can determine in less than a second what action every player has taken. Next. So big data, it spans through the entire sports life cycle. Our pre-match analysis, you will hear, on First Take, on Get Up, you will hear those persons sitting around the desk talking about what's going to happen in the game in the next hour, in the next day. What about injuries? Again, pre-match analysis. We also see big data in training, in the player profiles, in sponsorships. Team performance is often the space that, my students want to talk about. And then fan engagement. That's another big one. Next, please. And then I just wanted to put up a few examples of different analytics through sport that, you may have become familiar with. And if not, you may have interest in. So, go in and look at, more of these types of analyses. In basketball, because Dr. Washington did make mention that she's from Indiana, but I'm from the great state of Kentucky, where we rule basketball over the years. Not currently, but we're in a rebuild. So the focus of shooting is another set of data that becomes prominent in basketball. We can look at schedule optimization, performance analytics, right? Matchups, picking players, resting players. In baseball, also called sabermetrics, I want you to think about pitching and player evaluation. Fan analytics, as I spoke about earlier, I want you to think about connected stadiums, right? Fans clamor for these in-depth, real-time, analyses, and these sports events, they deliver information to fans during the game. So there's that. And then one last slide, I think. Okay. But so how do we do this? Through statistics, statistical learning, computer programming. Absolute must-know fundamental ingredient in the training of a modern data scientist. Descriptive statistics, understanding sampling, understanding probability, our normal distributions, our binary distributions, again, under probability distributions, our t-test, our ANOVAs, and then again, working with any of our computer programming, open source, like Python and R, you have TensorFlow, using Excel, and then proprietary software systems like SAS. All right. All right, you can take that off because after that, oh yeah. And here then are some books that I just wanted to recommend. In my class, we use the analytic methods in sport. We do use volume 2. Volume 2 includes both Excel and R programming. And then I use pieces of these other books to train my class in this introduction to sports analytics. And the last is a text example, but I may come back to that because I know we have a lot more information to share with the audience. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Really interesting. And thank you for sharing those key resources. Our next panelist is Eric. And am I starting a video for you? Is that?
Yes, please.
Did you want me to start the video now or?
Yeah, you can go ahead and start it now.
Okay, we'll see how this goes. Wish me luck, everybody.
When we looked around Atlanta in the competitive gaming community, we were looking for Black and brown youth in that community, and we just didn't see it. We said to ourselves, okay, well, if that resource and support doesn't exist, then we'll create it. And that's why we decided to start Pharaoh's Conclave. Pharaoh's Conclave is a platform, league, and apprenticeship program that prepares youth for esports careers. So Google Classroom is really that back end of the system that allowed us to provide a very seamless virtual learning experience for our students. They are using Google Classroom to upload their assignments, to create their portfolio, to showcase comic book creations, all kinds of things across all of our pathways. Success is really about the young people themselves and what they go on to do. So when we see that light go on in a young person's eyes, that's success for us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Washington. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is Eric, Coach E. Thomas. I am co-founder of Pharaoh's Conclave. I am also the executive director of our nonprofit, PCX Go, and I'm currently professor of practice in esports here at Morris Brown College. As we talked about in the introduction, as a lot of people have been talking about, data is really where it is. Early on, I had a love for math, and if you really understand math, you understand it is a language, and by it being a language, the value is in being able to translate and or interpret what the numbers are saying. So it's very, very important that you have your math skills, your analytic skills together to be able to interpret that, because people are going to be looking for that now. As Brian mentioned, that's what's driving most indicators for any business, education, or the world for that matter. So that's where the opportunities really, really do lie when it comes to that. For us, the main statistics or the main numbers that we look at when it comes to esports is that 75 to 85% of Black and brown youth consume esports, which means they're spending their money, their time, playing video games, and doing things of that nature. So money's going out, but less than 2% are on the side of production, who are actually making those applications, who are designing those games, who are on the content creation side of things. And so what we want to do is make sure that we are showing those opportunities to students and exposing them at an early age to make sure that they understand that there is a career pathway when it comes to something that they're interested in when it comes to video games. But video games in that industry is not just the games. So the music, it touches film, animation, a bunch of other different areas that you can get into. And so what we do in our program is try to really find out what you're interested in and help you chart your path to be able to do that. And one of our modules that all of our students go through, be it if they want to be a professional player, if they want to be a streamer, if they want a content creator, is really understanding the KPIs that exist. And KPI stands for key performance indicators. Those are the things that are the measurables to tell you whether or not you're being successful at whatever endeavor you're in, or that you're not being successful. And then that's where the interpretation comes in. You graph that data and you interpret it, the peaks to valleys, what's the trends, so you can understand how to be a better performer in whatever it is that you're working with and trying to do. But also, we talk about the numbers, but also at the end of the day, there's a human component to what we're doing. Even though we have this advent of AI and all of those different things, somebody's going to have to run that. Somebody's going to have to maintain and manage that and still interpret what's going on with that. So just know that data science is really related to trying to change or influence behavior of individuals that are usually consumers. But when you think about that, there's only really 4 ways that you can get a person to change or move in the direction you want them to move in. And so either they're hurting enough that they have to change, they've seen enough in your presentation or in the world that they're now inspired to change. They learn enough, which means, you give them enough information from your data analytics, from your presentations, that they now want to change, and they receive enough that now they're able to change. So there is a psychological component that numbers brings, and that's where my love of numbers and data science comes in. And so in the esports industry, data is king when it comes to being a pro player, and you have to have split second moves or inputs to make sure that your player, if it's a fighting game or if it's a sports game, is able to make that move that allows you to score either the hit, the knockout, or the points. To really understand that frame by frame, there's a lot of metrics that you have to bring together. So our minds have to be able to put that information quickly and then output it efficiently. So, that's the side of games where it's usually a leisure thing where people are playing, but there is a business and a career side to that. So you want to make sure that if that is something that you're interested in, definitely, you can connect with me and we can talk more about that. The opportunities that exist, all companies are tech companies now. All companies have apps. All companies are working to gamify whatever they're doing. So if you are interested in gaming, you have a place and a seat at the table at any company. It could be food service all the way to travel. It doesn't matter. Everybody has a reward system, a point system, and they're just trying to analyze the data to figure out, well, what's the best thing that our customers want? And if you can solve those problems, if you can answer those questions, it makes you the most valuable person in the room. So being able to do that is a great thing to have on that. So there's in talking about playing games, there's that axiom that talks about if you play checkers, you should really know how to play chess. But when it comes to data analytics and really data science, it would implore you to really learn how to play poker, where you're inputting a lot of different factors and information from a turn of a card to then figure out what you're going to do next. That is a lot of life lessons in that game, and games in general teach you a lot of life lessons. But learn how to play poker. I think that'll help you out with what you're trying to do and where you really want to go, and it'll help you deal with what comes in life. Because no matter what the numbers say, at the end of the day, choices are still going to be made, whether it's choices on the political side of things to choices what you're going to eat for dinner. It doesn't matter. There's data that's being analyzed in order for you to do that. I always talk to young people all the time. Our brains are wired that we are doing complex calculations just across the street to keep from getting hit by a car. So you are already hardwired for data analytics. And when it comes to the history of numbers, when I taught math, that was one of the first things I did for my middle school and high school students. I wanted them to understand the why behind those numbers, so they can start to interpret it for themselves. Because once you understand why numbers are what they are and what numbers are supposed to do and what you can make them do, it unlocks a whole world that you didn't know. You basically have unlocked the key to the matrix, and now you can understand what it is you can do, what it is you want to do, and become an entrepreneur, start your own business, be a consultant. There's so many different things that you could go into and become. I didn't want to hold you all, Zadella. I wanted to talk about that. I'm going to put a link to the chat. We have a conference coming up in April. It's our Minority Serving Institutions Esports Conference and Classic, where we'll be talking more about opportunities in the gaming industry for you all. And we would love to have you there. Be on the campus of Atlanta Metropolitan State College, which is one of our minority serving institutions. If you don't know what a minority serving institution is, it is any post-secondary institution that serves a majority minority population, which is kind of a oxymoron, because when you talk about people of color, we're in the planet, we're the majority, although we've been made to think we are the minority. And that kind of goes back to data science, being able to interpret and have the numbers say what you want them to say. So all your life, you've been told things based on someone else's interpretation. So what I always employ my young people to do is to find out the information for yourself and be able to interpret it for yourself, so you can understand the choices that you're making and deal with whatever consequences, good or bad, that come with that. But if you have the understanding of what's happening, it really leads you in the way that you want to go. So I'm just going to give it back to Dr. Washington so that we can answer some questions out there and kind of go from there. Thanks so much for having me.
Right. Thanks so much, Coach E. That's great. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to, thanks everybody for participating in the poll. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So we're going to see who's here. Hopefully you all can see it. Great. So what is your status? We have 28% or 15 out of 53 are currently enrolled students. And then 38 out of 53 or 72% are graduating working professionals. If a student, what level are you? So we have a freshman, a few sophomores, and some more seniors, and some masters and PhD students, and some not students, but lifelong learning, as Coach E is re-articulating for us today. Please select your gender. We kind of have a split between female and male, 45% female, 55% male. And then where do you currently live? We have 58% from Georgia, or 31 out of 53, and 40% are not in Georgia, 21 out of 53. And we have somebody who's international. So if you'd like to, I know at the beginning we put where we're from, but it's really great to see everybody join us today. So we had some questions on here. What is EA Sports' top selling game? Is it Madden NFL, PGA Tour, FIFA, or Call of Duty? It is, Brian, did you want to say, or you want me to say?
FIFA by a long shot,
All right, that's right.
by
Okay.
an incredibly long shot. Yeah.
Your panelists are agreeing. What is the global revenue of sales for the Sims game? Is it 40 million, 400 million, 40 billion, 400 billion, or is it 4 trillion?
You say the answer to that one. I don't remember the global revenue. It's not 4 trillion. It's not, that's what it isn't.
It's 454 plus billion, as in B for Beyonce, billion. So we had a few people get that. Some people thought it was 400 million, but you know, a different factor sort of thing. But yeah, great. Thanks everybody for participating in the poll. You know, it's the big bucks there. There you go. Fantastic. All right, so we're going to move to the Q&A, and you're welcome to put questions into the Q&A. Great job, everyone. So somebody asked, Brian, I was wondering, how has the new shift of privacy laws regarding data affected the accuracy of your work? And has the industry had to shift it all to combat this?
That's an interesting philosophical question, right? Like it's funny because I was just texting this morning with some friends of mine and debating on some of the issues that we've encountered in the past. Like you think about Facebook and some of the, I would say, damage that they've done to the world and leveraging people's data experiences and the way that they engage with information and weaponizing it and using it against them. You look at like Cambridge Analytica and what it's done in elections. Like there's danger in access to privacy data, right? And I think so, first and foremost, before going deep into an answer, like we have to acknowledge that people deserve their privacy. So it's really important. You see companies like Apple taking a really clear stance in this space. Yes, it has an impact, right? Like most companies, in order to be competitive, have to leverage as much personal data as is possible to increase engagement with their products, right? The more data that we have as an enterprise, people are collecting your data. They have these things called CDPs, consumer data platforms, where they're collecting information about all of you, how you engage via credit card transactions, where you go, what you do, your browsing history. Your data is being collected everywhere all the time. There's this movie that's funny that the movie's old now. Minority Report, which is a Tom Cruise movie back in, I don't remember, this is like maybe 2000s. It was a really, like, it was such a strong predictor of the way that the world was moving and the way that it leveraged data. There are these really interesting scenes where people are walking into the mall and they're scanning their eyes, right? And serving up content real time based on their preferences. You may have heard New York Times just had a podcast talking about facial recognition technology being used in Madison Square Garden to prevent people, enemies of the owners, from entering the facility. Like that's personalized delivery of content, essentially, right? So for us, I'm being long-winded here, but in gaming, yes, you would like to have access to as much data as is possible I think those privacy laws are important because they protect people, but it does limit your ability to deploy content that's more curated because you don't have as much access to data on player experience and engagement. So that reduces click-through on content, that reduces engagement, that reduces personalized content, and you just have to navigate around it. I'd say that companies like ours that are a bit more, like it's morally responsible, at least from my perspective, you just have to figure out a way to navigate it, but it does have an impact on our industry, all industries, especially companies like Apple and Google giving you less access to browser and player history. So it's an issue, but it's one I think that people should be interested in protecting. So
Right.
hope that
Thank you
answers
so
your
much.
question.
So Yvonne, how does one get into data science if not currently in college? Say if somebody's a working professional looking for a career change, how could one start?
As I said, or at the very last part of my presentation, right, having that skill set of statistical learning, statistics, computer programming, I want you to just think of always that Venn diagram, that we typically see about data science, where it's this interlocking circles of, again, statistics, computer programming, but then it also includes domain knowledge, right? Being a domain expert. So again, I made mention that I've gone through several different industries, but I have this love of sports. And this is where we see now the majority of our sports analytics professionals, they had backgrounds in other industries, but again, the love of the game, the study of the game, being a domain expert, has now allowed them to become professionals in, again, NFL, college, NCAA, basketball, NBA, soccer, et cetera. So, know your sport, know the statistics that are currently being utilized, in that area. I am a big NFL girl. So, understanding all the advanced statistics, it just escaped me. I was going to say AWS something, but I can't even think about it right now. So again, just knowing your sport and then increasing your skill level in your statistical learning, your computer programming.
Great. Yeah, great. And I love how you say you're from Kentucky, Indiana. Yeah, Indiana basketball all the way.
You know it, Kentucky.
There it is.
Actually Louisville, but still.
The KY. You got it.
Dr. Washington, can I add to that? Because I think there's a really important point there that Yvonne made an excellent point in knowing your skill, knowing your craft. This competition is fierce. Like, let me help you understand. Like, it is fierce. Like, when I came out and I jumped into analytics, it was because I had a passion for data, a passion for kind of technical tools. I was a NASA scholar at Morehouse, and so the tech piece of it was interesting to me. I can't compete with these youngsters. Like, there are people who are coming in that are part of my team. These are people that are 5, 6, 7, 8 clicks below me, sitting again like in a broom closet down in Melbourne, Australia, who are phenomenal, brilliant data scientists. And so, like, I had a brilliant African-American applicant for a data science role on my team. And I really, like, I was, I'm cheering for that person. I want to build diversity on my team. But that role reported to someone else on my team. He was competing with PhDs in data science who have worked for multiple years in the space at the same level of the role he was applying for. And he had an interest. He just had an interest, and he had some SQL, but maybe not enough SQL to compete with a PhD from Stanford who's interested in the exact same role. So this competition is fierce. And so back up your passion with experience, whether it's pet projects in the education to back it up, and lean in with your passion, right? Like, don't be scared to represent yourself, whether it's through LinkedIn with leaders like me and in other companies, and say, like, I have a passion in this space. This is what I want. Because it's not always just the education that's going to get you the role. You have to lean in and fight for yourself. And it goes beyond just an application and showing up for an interview. It's fierce, and it's like, it's scary. I wouldn't have survived if I was competing with these people 15 years ago. It's hard out there, but if you have that passion, it comes through in discussions, conversations, and interviews. Sorry to jump on that,
It
Yvonne.
is, no, but I'm going to add to that, Dr. Washington. I have my class. What we do is that we go out and we find the influencers in the space. So whatever sport you have passion for, we find influencers, we find podcasts. I tell them, just as you follow your friends, I want you to follow these influencers. I want you to know, like, what are they watching? What are they reading? What conferences are they going to? To your point about linking with other professionals. And then I think that was my point. Something else I was going to say there, but I'll come back to it. In every software, whether it's R or Python, they have, sporting packages that have data, so you can then do these projects, create your GitHub to create then your portfolios. So that's another point.
Great. And Coach G, you've been busy building programs, just really, really neat programs in esports and getting other people. And I love how you say you got to understand what numbers are and what you can make numbers do. I love that. So what do you see as this next big thing in data science, or this next big thing in esports and data science? Where do you think this is all going?
It's not going anywhere. First of all, it's going to permeate basically everything, every part of life that we're in. Everything is being gamified. Everything is collecting data on you. What I would like to say to the students is get started now. Doing stuff. You don't have to wait. There are many things and many tools available to you to start going down that pathway. As to what Brian was saying, and I say this to all my students, you're no longer competing with the person down the street or in your same state, or even in the country. You're competing globally. And so in coaching basketball, and I have a young man who may be 15 doesn't want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to a practice. I'm letting him know there's a 13-year-old that's waking up at 2 o'clock and going to practice. And so, they are really on the grind in other places. So you really have to get into it and get started now. And in the realm of esports and gaming, it is still pretty much at the grassroots level. So if you're looking for a place where you can get involved in that hasn't solidified just yet, and that are looking for more inclusivity when it comes to diversity, that is a place where you can start. Now, it is going to be tough, just like any other place, just like regular technology. We already know, we've already seen what has happened. And because of the lack of data that has been collected on, people of color, we understand what is happening with some of the things in AI and facial recognition and things of that nature. So we have to be at the table. And the only way we can be at the table is by us getting off the sidelines and jumping in. So for the students getting started now, and for any educators who are on here, we have to be open to changing the way that we educate our youth from our community. They're not being exposed to data science and computer science at an early age. They have to have a different type of pathway. They have to have a different type of pathway to go through. They have to have additional supports and scaffolds to get them to the next level. And putting them in project-based learning, I can't say enough about project-based learning. Giving them an opportunity to actually finish a project and put them on something real will allow them to get there, because it's not going anywhere. And, when the AI and everything and Skynet is taking over, it's still going to be somebody, a human being that is, still operating and maintaining that. And so the sooner we can get them in, the better. And not to be afraid of it. You have to get started now, and you have to jump all in, and you don't have to get rid of what you're passionate about. So if you love football, you can still be a part of football, and you don't have to go pro, right? We were always taught, not taught, it was always put in front of us that, to get out of the hood or to get out of our neighborhood or whatever we wanted to do, we go the pro route or go the acting route, be the actor or be the the person who the musical artist. The people who actually get paid are the people behind the scenes that are running, the engineering boards, who are actually doing the writing, who are doing the producing on that side. So, you may not go pro, as I tell all of my athletes as I'm coaching them, but that's top 2% and top 1% really. But there's 99, 98% of careers in those different spaces that you could be a part of and have lifelong careers and retire being a part of it. I still see people coach a part of the Falcon staff that are on the sidelines that have been there for, I'm 44, so they've been there, I think, all my life. I remember seeing them going to the games and they're still there. So there's always opportunities that are non-traditional. And so embrace the non-traditional opportunities that are out there. And I think technology has has leveled the playing field just enough that we can get in some of those opportunities, but we still have a lot of work to do. So just encourage everybody to keep pushing, keep making programs where our students are allowed to be a part of, that's inviting them to be a part of, because a lot of data science, computer science is scary to a lot of individuals. But when you can break it down to, okay, a simple choose your pathway adventure, and say, hey, you just did some algorithmic thinking and you created a program, you just write it down. That's a place to start. Now you've demystified and debunked those myths that, we're not a part of it. And then also the myth is that we haven't been a part of that. We were the originators of data science, of technology. So it is in our DNA to do so. So once the students understand that they have freedom to create and freedom to be, and they're invited, then we can take off from there. But it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's just going to become more and more ingrained in what we do every single day.
A couple of those trends, as we've been speaking about, though, I want you to think about auto ML. I want you to think about generative AI, particularly as we talk about consumer experience. And then also a space that we definitely need to get in is our algorithmic auditing and transparency.
Great points. Excellent points. Well, I know we're hitting the time here, but I echo the comments in the chat that this has been really a wonderful panel. Thanks to all of you all for sharing the information. And as Shirley had said, she said, thanks for sharing this wonderful information with students. I totally agree. And I echo her comments. I really enjoyed chatting with you all and just learning from you all. And I believe Professor Phillips is going to be so kind and provide some resources to the attendees. So look for that, as well as an evaluation, so you can let us know how we're doing. On February 10th, mark your calendars, 12 noon, we will have a speaker on love, data, and algorithms. To get you ready for Valentine's Day, you have your Valentine's Day data science going on. So to come back on February 10th at noon, I'll send an email reminder to the attendees so you can sign up. But until then, this is now posted on Facebook, so you can access our Facebook page and access the video now. Next week, it'll be posted on YouTube. Thanks, Coach E, Brian, and Yvonne, for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom with us today.
It's a pleasure. It's always
Absolutely.
a privilege. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all.